Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Low Power once again, and today I want to do a basketball video. And this video I want to do is basically my summation or my observation when I look back into the annals of NBA history. And I look back, being able to see video of greats and how they played the game back in the day and things. And and I basically come to a conclusion and hearing things from people, just like I heard this interview by Doug Moe, who was back in the day. He was a coach of the Denver Nuggets and all that. We're talking about comparing today's players to yesterday's players. And first off, I want to say that I've always respected the older players, the people that played back in the day, the beginning of the NBA and everything. I always respected them and gave them much props. I remember, I think I was like in third grade. It was a book by Wilt Chamberlain I remember reading, and I thought Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest ever. He may be still, who knows. And I read about Oscar Robertson, all these guys, and I had mad, respect for them. And I thought about how Oscar Robinson had to be the best because he is a triple-double guy, and all those things. But I have to say now that, I did a video on the different basketball eras, and I came up with different reasonings for which ones I believe were tougher and all that stuff. And I just come to a realization that the era you played in does make a difference. And I see that though the players back then that were great, I believe they all will still be great players. The Chamberlains, the Russels, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which is he kind of between two eras. The Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, them guys would still be great players. But the reality is their stats were ballooned in those eras. That's just the reality. In that era, the classic era, they shot the ball a lot more because just watching the video, if you watch the video, the defense is almost non-existent. That's just the honest truth about it. I look at it and it's like there's no defensive intensity. It's very much one-on-one, slow rotations on when there is somebody does beat somebody, and there's like no defense intensity. I was looking through some of the Wilt Chamberlain videos. Now I was expecting to see what I saw happen in Shaq when he played against like Portland and San Antonio and Sacramento during those years with the Lakers, and how they was just throwing everything at him defensively. And I was expecting to see the same thing when I looked at Wilt Chamberlain. And what I saw was mostly whoever was guarding him by itself. That's what I mostly saw. The double team was actually it was rare, or it was like a soft double team. Very soft. The defense just was it's just non-existent. So, he scored, it was 1 year 50 points a game. I could see it. But, I seen other videos of Wilt where he talking all grandiose, like if he played he'll score 70 points a game and all that stuff. And, he tried to give all this air like he wasn't even trying back then and all that stuff. You hear all these tales about Wilt Chamberlain and everything. He was great. I believe he'd be a great player. I believe he could finish with the same point average that he did then, but it would be different. It would be that he would consistently score 30 points a game. It would be like this year he averaged 50 points a game, next year he averaged 13 or something like that. Because he tried to play took a defensive stance. But I think in today's game, Wilt Chamberlain would still be a great player. If he had to go against Shaq and Olajuwon and Duncan and them, I think he could still get his 30, but he wouldn't be doing what he did to Bill Russell. He was a kid. I mean, statistically used to kill Bill Russell. Bill Russell would win the game, but he used to give it to him 40, 20 rebounds. I mean, they shot the ball 50 more times a game on average back then. That's 25 more times on each team, so you're going to get more rebounds. And Oscar Robertson was at that time, Oscar Robertson was a big guard, 6'5", he's 6'5". That's a big guard back then. That's still good size now, but that was an oversized guard back then. That was a small forward. Some power forwards was 6'5" back then. So, I got a lot of respect for them guys, but I got to put all that to rest, man. It's just, it wasn't, the players weren't better back then. They weren't. The players are better now. The greats are still great, but the talent overall is much better now. So, I just heard the same sentiment from Doug Moe today when I looked on the NBA.com. Today is February the 27th, so I don't know when he said it, but you can see it on NBA.com. He said the same thing, the talent is much more talent overall. There's much more athleticism overall right now than it was even in the 80s. The 80s still has athletes, but I'm not saying that the players now are the best they ever been, because I believe the 80s and the 90s, they were just as good, if not better, or more so. League right now, because of the influx of the European talent, is just as strong, if not stronger. But when you look at different eras, you got to think of these things, and when you comparing players, to me, like number one is Michael Jordan. I believe Michael Jordan played back at the same time Will Chamberlain did. He would average 50 points a game. I don't know. I gotta look back at these tapes, but I believe if you fouled somebody, it was an automatic free throw shot. So that might have been part of it. I want to make sure. I'm not exactly sure on that. But anyway, I think Michael Jordan would average 50 points a game for his career. He played back then, really. The defense, that's the first thing that jump out at you. The defense intensity is not there at all. Nothing like the 80s, nothing like the 90s. And it's funny when you watch all the different eras, you see that the defense is getting better and better. So you get to the 90s to like the early 2000s, where you got the height of defense. And then they changed the rules to make it easier to score. That's what we got now. Is evening out now. So it's not an overly defensive league anymore. So when you look at players, when I try to compare players, I look at transitional players. I look at Michael Jordan played in the 80s and the 90s. He dominated both. So the people who want to say, well, Kobe's better than Mike because he played back in the day, you're stretching it. Michael Jordan did better against better defenses, plain and simple. There's just new things some Kobe fans are saying now that's coming out. Kobe Bryant does things that Michael Jordan only wish he could do on the offensive end. I'm like what? The moves that Kobe does, Michael did them. I think it's one move he got that is new, where he pumps, spins, and then he while keeping his pivot, he steps off on the other foot and he lays it in, which is just a variation of that move that he got from Jordan, where Jordan pumps, get the guy up in the air, he's on his pivot foot, he steps through on the other foot and lays it up. That's all. So other than that, I don't see what he does that Michael Jordan wish he could do. So the best basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, easy, without a doubt, because he played at the toughest time and he shined at the toughest time. And like I said, old guys, they get much respect, but like I said, their numbers are ballooned because the competition wasn't as good and they didn't play as good defense. Take Shaq, put him back there, 50 points easy. Nobody back then would have stopped him. They weren't better back then. Michael, 50 points easy. Nobody would stop him. Olajuwon, 50 points. He would do the same thing that Will Chamberlain did. But Will Chamberlain's still great. He probably would still dominate at this time because he's still bigger than everybody else. Peace.